Not yet. There we go. Live. If you can see me and hear me and see me, I'm B minor.
Whoop, okay, whoop. B minor.
I'm the X Factor.
Whoop, whoop. And we got Jared Mace with us today.
And as you can tell, we're in for a very fun episode today.
I'm amped. It's middle of the day. I'm fired up. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to this. Jared and I have known each other for quite a while. Back to when you were at Warner Pacific. And so we're going to touch on some awesome stuff today. I want to hear a little bit about the business you started back a while ago, Playing for Kicks. And just kind of, that was a pretty awesome mission you guys had, what you were doing with that. And now with Miracle Ear and all the exciting stuff you're doing. So Jared, thanks for taking some time to hop on with us, man.
Oh man, I'm excited, and it's an honor to be on your guys' show. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so thanks for having me on.
That's very kind of you to say. We're excited, man. I got to throw this out there just right when we start, because this is something I was doing a little research, kind of just your background stuff. I found on your website, which is a great name for a website. You want to give them your website name?
JaredMace.com. Nice and easy.
Look at that.
Simple. Can't beat that. I will remember that.
That's the one that you can remember. But it says on there, this is Jared's quote. This is Jared Mace. I teach people how to pursue their dreams, how to influence others, and how to make a life that you're proud of. Boom.
That's powerful.
That is powerful stuff right there. I love that.
I would say everybody.
I liked it. Yeah. Who wrote that?
That was well written, well worded.
A genius.
A genius.
I like that guy.
Possibly a genius. Jared is on the border of genius.
I don't know about that.
But a great salesman and a great friend. I always love when we get to chop it up and connect and shoot text back and forth talking about all sorts of crypto and gold and silver and all those. I mean, crypto right now. Are we talking about how crazy that's going right now?
Man, yeah, that's been.
Brant, I just sold all my Dogecoin.
No, you didn't.
Bold move.
Sold all my Dogecoin at 11 cents.
Hey,
sold at 11 cents. Got in a little bit over 5 at 11 cents. I said, you know what? I'll take it. Over. I'm not too greedy of a person. And then it's at 19. I take over 100%. I take.
Yeah, I don't. Did you see 19, it today?
So I was like, yeah. Unfortunately, I saw it today. I wish I hadn't seen it today.
Mine's up 1,200% from what I bought it for a little over a penny. That's profit. That's gain.
That's amazing.
That's
amazing.
Like
that's riding the wave right there, baby, and I love it.
Crypto's like steroids almost. Like, you know how like you lift weights, you don't usually see results right away. You know, buying crypto, it's like 1,200% returns. It's like boom. All of a sudden you're just ripped up.
The equivalent of being in the gym for about 24 hours a day for a week.
Yeah. Well, I saw Mark Cuban say that he is starting to accept payments at the his NBA arena with Dogecoins, and so he's like, I'm not selling any of the ones that I have. So that to me was, I saw the gain and I was looking at it and I was like, there's just too many people backing it for me to want to sell it. And then I saw it today just skyrocket, and I think it's just going to keep going, man. I don't think it would be a bad buy point to buy it at 19 cents. I really don't, but I'm not a financial advisor. That's my caveat right now, if anyone's watching, but yeah,
this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. This is a podcast with 3 legendary dudes, but not legal or financial advice.
But I mean, anytime you can get 100% of your return, I mean, you got to be happy with that.
Is Pont frozen, or is he just not moving?
If he's not frozen, then that's the best.
That is pretty still face. Pont.
He wins the staring competition.
I know. And he's gone. He'll be back, though, probably, because he's that type of guy. Maybe there's Wi-Fi issues, but we'll chop it up while we wait to see if he returns to the studio. Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, I'm glad we could connect. There he is. He's back again. I'll add him to the stream. There he is.
He's back. Connection over here. All of a sudden, I lost you guys. I was like, oh, no. What's happening? But, yeah, I have poor connection. Not sure why, but it looks like everything's fixed now. So that's good.
We'll roll.
Good to have you back.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you. The X Factor and I started this during the pandemic, and then He's in school still, finishing up his senior year at DePaul. So we took a little break, and now we're back on season 2 of B Minor and the X Factor. So if you're watching and you don't know B Minor and the X Factor, where have you been since the pandemic started?
Under a rock.
What have you been doing? The $1 million question. What have you been doing?
Hiding out. Well, Jared, give us a little of your background. Tell us a little bit about how you got to Warner Pacific, and then how you got to Miracle Ear, and what you're doing now. Give us just a little history.
Yeah, it's a really intricate story, so I'll have to give you the Cliff Notes version. I actually went to 5 different colleges, just bouncing around. So I can share more on that later if you like. But I ended up at Warner Pacific, played. I was one of those jack of all trades, whatever the coach needed me to be. You want me to be a defensive player? I got you. You want me to, score some buckets? I can do that. You want me to play a guard, a post, whatever it is that you need. That's what I did. And I was certainly never the most athletic individual, but I just always worked my butt off. And so I got playing time. And because I was a hard worker, I kind of took that same approach into what I did, jumped right back into my master's program after I graduated, and started a nonprofit organization collecting basketball shoes for the less fortunate. And that kind of exploded until it came to a bottleneck where we didn't have a sustainable revenue model for me to continue to grow at the pace that we were growing. And so I was also at the same time starting a new career working for Miracle Ear as kind of a hearing instrument specialist. That's the term, but really you're a salesperson. And I'm testing people's hearing and selling them hearing aids if they need it. And started getting good at that, and moved back to Portland and took over another office, did well there. He allowed me to start training other people, and the company grew at such an exponential rate that he allowed me to buy into the ownership side of things. And so for the past 6 years, I've been a part owner of multiple Miracle Ear franchises. We now have 100 different stores. So we've just been growing rapidly. Started out, we had 27. Now we have over 100, which is pretty amazing. And that's pretty much where I'm at now. And I also do sales training for other organizations, and just love giving back and helping people to open their eyes to be better at sales, or to kind of figure out what's missing as far as taking it to the next level and helping them to fill in those gaps and to achieve more. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
You got through so much so quick, because I mean, that was awesome. I also, another little fun thing I found: help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want.
Yeah, Zig
Ziglar quote, Jared Mace quote of the quote.
Yeah. Jared, I'm gonna be very, very careful, and you'll see where I'm going with this. I'm gonna be very careful about this comparison, and you'll see why in a second. But can you think about somebody else? By the way, this success is incredible, and I'm gonna get to that as well. Can you think of one other person who worked their way to the top through a company, ended up becoming their own company, and then ended up starting sales training, maybe without the jail, and maybe with a Jordan Belfort? Question mark?
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street?
Without all the drugs and jail time. That wouldn't be a bad path.
Close.
Without all the bad stuff, but absolute props for that. It's an amazing story. You did what he aspired to do. Because minus all the jail time and everything, and the drugs, probably all the other stuff that we're forgetting to say, or just thinking about but don't want to say.
Yeah, well, and listening to some of his interviews, it's interesting because there's at times where it's like, man, that yacht and the helicopter on top of the yacht flying to Europe and going on these trips, that sounds nice too. But I think time, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that time is probably the most important thing. As more opportunities are coming to you, now you're at a point where it's like, which one is going to be worth my time? And you're putting your money and your time into it, because time is money. And so there's no way that I would give up what I'm doing with my family. I got 5 kids now, actually, and have to sacrifice that for jail time just because you had a more luxurious lifestyle. So, yeah. Side note.
Absolutely true.
So besides being a founder, a president, an owner, you're also a husband, a father, coach, a teacher, a leader, a mentor, a friend. You are Slash. Look at all those slashes in there. Founder.
Just call me
Slash president. Jared.
That's gonna be my new nickname.
Mace. I love that. That is a good
The X
one.
Factor and Slash.
Boom.
There it is.
Boom.
That's it.
That'll be mine.
Together we make a whole logo. We can go like this, so it can end up like that. That's nice.
Oh, that's too funny, man.
That is good though. But you do a lot of stuff, man. Give us one piece of advice, like sales advice. So I know X Factor's looking into some financial planning stuff, and that's kind of sales. And so everything almost in life, I know I had to sell myself to my wife, and that was probably one of the best things I have been able to get. I mean, so sales, give us a little piece just in a Cliff Notes, shorter version of your training, just a quick tip for those watching about how to be successful in sales.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was finding out what that person wants and delivering that, because every person has their own subjective value on whatever it is they're spending money on. So if you got $100 and you're going to buy, 3 books, you expect to get a return on that investment worthy of $100 or more, right? So every person that's spending money on something, here's the value they expect to get out of it, right? And here's the price, right? They're going to be much more likely to spend the money and buy the product if the value outweighs the price, right? And so your job as the salesperson is to add more value to the point where it exceeds the price limit. Once it exceeds the price, they're not going to have nearly the problem spending the money because they see the value in it. So same thing if I'm selling myself to my wife, here's where, she expects this, right? And in return for her time, might not be money for her, but her return, she expects to get this. If I start delivering more value than she wants to stick around, and she says, this is a good investment for me. So whatever it is that you're selling, financial products or hearing aids or coaching camps, here's the price. You have to find a way to exceed the price in the value that you're delivering.
I have a sales question for you, very valuable, and I can tell you're a very good salesman. I was watching Grant Cardone on Jordan Belfort's podcast, and this is a very popular one between YouTubers and a lot of different individuals. I'm sure you've seen it. And this is the $1 million question that Jordan continued to ask Grant Cardone, and people were saying he's not answering the question, this and that. At what point, and this is what I ask all great salespeople such as yourself, at what point do you stop with one individual? Let's say it's seeming like the individual doesn't want to buy something, right, that you're selling. At what point do you say, okay, I'm wasting my time if I continue to talk to this individual. Let me move on to the next person and see scale instead of let me see what I can get out of this. At what point are you wasting your time? And, essentially, when should you move on?
It's a great question. And I remember watching that, and it was just nails on a chalkboard, because what Grant Cardone was saying is, even a zero interest is at some level, some interest. And so you keep on going. And to me, I'm more on the lines of Jordan Belfort, where I'm not going to keep knocking on this guy's door and get a restraining order against me, which some of his employees have had, because I'm just upsetting people and tarnishing the brand. You can continue to follow up and present different solutions and offers, and you get to a point where you're really burning the bridge. So to me, it's more of a feeling. And if I am getting to the point where I'm following up in creative ways, you'll get to a point where I know that I'm burning the bridge and I'm tarnishing the relationship. So what I'll do is I'll plant seeds and then get to the point where it's, hey, what we have to offer, the value that we provide, reach out to us when you're ready. And then I'm moving on, because I don't want to keep wasting my time on this that is not an opportunity when there's so many other people out there that are an opportunity. So I guess that would be my answer, is you got to feel it, but you have to, cut bait and move on.
I 1,000% agree with that. And that was exactly what I was thinking when I heard that, because I'm putting myself in the position of, let's say that I call somebody and I have this water bottle and I'm trying to sell this water bottle to everybody. And if I call you, or if I knock on your door and you answer the door, I don't want to know, slam the door in my face. What am I going to do? Sit there for the next hour, 2 hours, knocking on your door while you don't answer? Right? When I could have went everywhere else. Yeah, I could have went everywhere else. Maybe the neighbor would have bought something. Maybe somebody down the street would have bought something. But I would never figure it out if I continue to knock on your door for 2 hours, you know? So that's the way that I looked at it as well. So it sounds like we're on similar wavelengths there.
Yeah, and it was interesting watching that just because that's not the only question that he asked. There was multiple questions where I'm just like, you know, it just appeared that Jordan is the better salesperson. Now, here's the thing, that it's not just being a good salesperson, because if you look at the company 10X and Grant Cardone and the brand, Grant Cardone has built a, you know, massive company and succeeded at such a level where it dwarfs Jordan Belfort. Jordan Belfort might be an amazing salesperson, but you have to have the marketing component with it. And that's where Grant Cardone was a brilliant marketer. I don't think he's the best salesperson in the country. Now, has he built a brand that creates that image that he is? Yes, great job. However, I think there are plenty of people who would outsell them if you were to compare them side by side. But his marketing tactics of being everywhere and just pouring and investing into different marketing avenues, I mean, I don't think there's anyone who's done a better job of that.
I think that is so true. And watching that podcast is really what differentiated. I'm so happy you said the word marketing, because that was exactly where I was going to go with it. The difference between marketing results. Obviously, Grant Cardone is, I would say, in my opinion, the bigger marketer of the two. Jordan is definitely the better salesperson of the two, and we can see that through each other's careers. You know, Jordan was more of a salesman for various stocks and penny stocks, and you know, you can say what you want about the guy, but he was an excellent salesman. So that was definitely a differentiator between me of two people who are extremely successful in their field. This is a very successful salesman on this end. Of course, marketing as well. You know, you have to market yourself to have something, you know, like he had, and now with the sales training business that he has now. But it is clear to me that Grant Cardone is definitely on less of the sales end, much more of the marketing end, and he has done an incredible job. You see him in, you know, I can't even scroll through Instagram without seeing the guy in a private jet, you know, or with his, you know, Patek Philippe watch, talking about, hey, you want this? Invest with me, Cardone Capital. So,
well, and in all reality, if you look at the end of it, where you're just looking at, let's say, his profit and loss statement, who's made more sales? You know, so he might not be as good of a salesperson, but he's making more sales because his marketing is much better. So that's one of the things that you have to get good at, marketing and sales. If you want to succeed at a really high level, you have to have both.
That's a great point. I also, what's up, Steve? Steve Garrity's watching. Thanks for dropping. If you guys are watching, you want to drop something in the comments, feel free to do that on the Facebook. We like quotes. I like quotes. I know the X Factor likes quotes, and I know you're a quote guy too, Mr. Mace. Here's one that I came up with for today. You were talking a little bit about planting seeds. And so one of the ones, I'll put it up on the ticker, you don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed. You don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed. And that's, I mean, obviously it is literally, you can't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed, but more figuratively, metaphorically, you don't see the results. You don't get what you want right away. You don't get the good stuff the same day. You don't see the curls, the muscles the day you lift your first weight. But on the opposite side of it, you don't get fat the day you eat the Oreo. Right? Most people think about the good, but you also, if those habits are negative or those habits are taking you further away from your goals, you're not going to see the results or the detriment the day that you necessarily do it. Smoking cigarettes might not kill you that day, but it's going to make you closer to death. But on the positive side, you don't just want to see the results right away. You got to put in the time and make sure you pay attention to who's helping you water your plants, who's watering the trees, not just who shows up the day it's time to pick the fruit. Because you and I both know there's the people that are waiting around and they're not helping you water. They're not helping you pick the weeds. They're just getting ready to come try to eat the fruit when when the tree bears the fruit. So the quote that I thought of that I didn't think of myself, but I found that I really hit me today because it's about preparation. Preparation. Success is when preparation meets opportunity, and you don't know when that opportunity is going to be there, You don't know, but you still got to water it. You water it. Like the bamboo. You guys know the bamboo, right? I love
Chinese
that.
bamboo.
Yeah, tell us about, I mean, what is it, like 5 years? You don't see anything above the ground, but it's developing an intricate root system. So that way, when it does pop, it grows like, what is it, like 90 feet in 60 days or something ridiculous. But you haven't seen anything for 5 years.
Can you imagine that farmer, though, every day going out to his backyard and watering and seeing nothing? I mean, imagine a job that you have or a business you created, and for 5 years you poured your heart, time, soul into, and for 5 years there was nothing, no profit, no growth, nothing. That'd be hard. That would be hard.
And then and that's where people, Pop and I talk about this a lot. Like, oh man, we only have 100 views, or we only have 1,000 subscribers. But there's people that work their whole lifetime to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
You know, people look at them and they're like, oh man, that guy just blew up. And it's like, they don't see the hours and hours and hours of time that I've put in. And that's what makes you a success, is the stuff that the people don't see. Like, let's just talk about Dame Lillard, Dame Dollar, Dame Time. Like when he hit that shot, the little 3, 2, 1, jump back, nailed it on Paul George, and then he did this one.
Yep.
And Paul George says, that was a bad shot. I don't care what you say. That was a bad shot. And Dame just says, you don't know what I've been working on. You don't know what's going on under the ground. You don't know that I've been working on that shot for that moment his whole life. And that's where I tell the kids that same thing. I'm coaching an 8th grade group of boys right now. And I tell them that, you're not just working for this shot today. You might be working right now for a shot that you don't shoot until your senior year, or in college, or when you're in the NBA. But you still got to work on that shot now. You can't wait until that moment arrives. You don't wait to work. You work while you wait. You don't get ready when that moment presents itself. You got to be ready. You got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I get excited and I start rambling about things, but hopefully there was something in there that somebody could take away. I threw my pen, getting fired up here. Let's go.
Well, that always makes for a great podcast.
Yeah, there's a quote that I enjoy that kind of goes right along with, you don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed. He said, you can't judge each day by the fruit that you bear, but by how many seeds you plant.
Love that.
Nice.
You can't judge your day by how much fruit that you bear, but by how many seeds you plant. And each day, that's our goal, is to just plant as many seeds as possible. And it's even biblical. The more seeds you plant, you're going to have some that land on rocks, some that are going to get eaten up by the weeds, some that are going to land on soil that can't grow. But if you continually put in the work, day in, day out, you're consistent, you're going to consistently have more success because you're continuing to plant the seeds.
Boom. I love that. You can't judge your day by how much fruit you bear, right? But by how many seeds you plant. And that's about process, right? It's not about results. And that's what we're talking a lot about at Pacific Basketball. It's not about the results. It's about the process. And it's not about just seeing what you get. It's about the development and the journey, not the destination. It's more about the journey than it is the destination. And judge yourself by how many seeds you plant, not by how many pairs you pick.
That's right. I was actually talking to this gentleman who was a trainer for Kevin Durant. Recently had him. His name's Alan Stein Jr. He's awesome. Just recently had him on the podcast, and he was telling me a story of, in Portland, they had some of the top 2 guards out in high school, and Kobe Bryant was there, and he got to go watch him. And so he goes up to Kobe, and he had heard the story that Kobe is just maniacal about his workouts. And he goes up to him and says, hey, if you don't mind, I'd love to watch one of your workouts. And he goes, okay, it's at 4 o'clock. And he's like, looks at his, schedule, and it's like, well, 4 o'clock, we have camp at 4:00. And he goes, oh, I see the confusion on your face. That's 4 a.m. I'll be here. And he was just like, oh man. Okay. So he tries to beat him there and gets there a little bit before 4 a.m. thinking that he'll beat him there, all to be able to hear the ball bouncing in the distance as he's pulling up. Kobe was already there warming up at 3:30. So at 4:00, he could start his workout. Now he watches the workout and he's like, that was pretty basic. Like, I don't understand. How is this guy, touted as the best basketball player in the world right now? I got 8th graders doing these workouts. And he asked him later, like, why are you doing such basic drills? And he said, you got to fall in love with the basics. It's the process. He's like, you got to master the basics and never get tired of working on the basics. And that's applicable with everything that we do in sales. Are you practicing how you're talking about your products? Do you practice how you handle objections? Are you making sure that you are prepared before that customer comes in? Those are some of the basics in what we do, but you can apply that to everything that we do. Are you working on the basics consistently? Are you falling in love with the process? So I just love talking to other people who are, operating at a high level, because you get those golden nuggets like that. So
Alan Stein, top notch. If you don't know and you're watching this, elevate your game. He author. He's trained, like you said, Kevin Durant and Kobe Bryant and all these guys, but he's humble. Alan Stein, I mean, he's a good guy for sure. From every interaction I've ever had with him, he's been nothing but nails.
Yeah, he's a cool cat for sure.
For sure. X, what are you got for us today? What are you bringing?
I always come with a gem, and I have 3 simple words that I've been thinking about all day, literally all day, and it stemmed from an Instagram message I got this morning. So my quote is consistency is key, and I'll walk you through what I mean by that. Even though it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna tell a story to explain it. I have been messaging back and forth on Instagram with an individual. He's a guy, he's in high school now, but he's just getting into high school. I've been talking to him since he was a later grade schooler, 7th or 8th grade, I want to say. And his dream, his whole goal is to play college basketball, right? And he's been messaging me consistently, which I respect, because in his position, I'll do the exact same thing constantly. What can I do today to get better? What kind of drills do I need to do? In the beginning, he asked me, specific drills. What should I do here? I want to play college basketball. He's much like me, physically, stature-wise, probably doesn't look like a basketball player. I'm a whole 5'8", 150 pounds, right? And he's in a similar position. So he essentially reached out to me, how can I do what you did, right? And what I respect about him is that he didn't see me as a college basketball player. He saw me where he was at his time, and he wanted to compare what I was doing to what he was doing so that he could match that intensity, right? And the number one thing that I've been saying from the beginning is consistency is key. And he's getting so much better, guys. In all seriousness, I would be honest if he wasn't. He's getting so much better, and he's doing exactly what I started doing when I started playing basketball. When I fell in love with the game when I was young, I sucked. There's no other way to put it. I was terrible. I wasn't much of an athlete. I played soccer a little bit. I played karate. I guess I did karate. I don't know what the proper terminology for that would be, but you know what I mean? And then I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I wasn't bad. I was actually really good at karate, and I was solid at soccer. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to play basketball. I love basketball. My dad said, okay, you want to play basketball? My dad comes from an entrepreneurial background, just the hardest worker I know. Okay, no objections whatsoever. You want to play basketball? All right, let's go. Immediately, within 15 minutes of me saying that, I was outside doing sprints in my driveway. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Next day, boom, membership to the gym. It's called the Northwest Athletic Club. All right, let's put up shots every day, every day, every day. I'm waking up early, going, after school, before school. And I would like to say, a lot of people, I hate this. This is so hard. I loved it. And this guy is doing the same. I say all that to say this. Consistency is what got me here. Consistency is what's going to get him to the high major D1 level as well. But it's not even just about basketball. It's about anything. It's about business. It's about, I don't know, if you want to get a girl that you've been pursuing, as long as she shows interest, don't overdo it. But, consistency, it leads you to your goals. I want to drink this whole water bottle. I might not be able to do it in a whole sitting, I might have to take baby steps. Look, I didn't drink the whole thing yet. I'm going to. I'm going to stay hydrated, but I'm still here. It started here. I got from here to here, Stay the course. Do what you got to do. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to reach your goals.
Water the trees. Consistency. You don't just water it the day you plant it and then expect to bear the fruit. all three of our quotes are kind of tying together, but consistency every day, that's what it takes. I mean, I think that is key. Consistency is key. That's a good one. Bringing it.
I think you also have to understand and embrace the challenge because, I think if you prepare for the challenge mentally and how hard it's going to be and you understand it and you prepare for that mentally, you're better prepared for when that happens because you're going to have days that suck. You're going to have days that your body's hurting and you have to be able to have the discipline to push through that. And that's easier said than done. I know we've all faltered in that way, but the more I study discipline, the more I study successful people, that to me is one of the biggest determining factors of being successful is the consistency, but you can't really be consistent long term if you don't have the discipline. And I remember hearing this gal that's a triathlete, and she, in her mind, she always heard that you got to visualize and prepare. And she visualized the perfect race, and she was going to beat her best time, all to get into the water and start swimming. And all these other people basically swam over her and almost kind of drowned her. And she didn't prepare for that challenge. And so the next time she goes into it, and she said, mentally, I didn't prepare. What if there are roadblocks? What if there are obstacles? And so the next time she's going into it, she said, I know that could happen. Well, what else could happen? Well, this could happen. And what if that does happen? How am I going to prepare? And she mentally prepared for it. And she was ready in case that did happen. She knew what she was going to do. So kind of like in basketball, you have all these different plays. And then if that doesn't work out, right, the person goes under the screen. Well, I'm going to flare out. Now, if he flares out, what are you going to do? Being able to read the defense, the same thing that happens in life. If they do this, well, what's the audible? How are we going to make those adjustments? But it's intriguing watching people where they're being consistent, but then something happens and it knocks them off. And then they just kind of lose the wind in their sails. And that's one thing that I would highly suggest to anyone watching is find a way to develop that discipline to push through those barriers and obstacles and prepare for them mentally because they're going to be there.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson.
Mr. Tyson.
Oh,
who got punched in the face a lot, by the way. But gave out way more.
He dished it out. And everybody's got that plan of, okay, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And all of a sudden you get hit in the face and it's like, oh, crap, my eyes are watering. My nose is bleeding. And then all of a sudden you got to be able to react. And I think that's a great story about the swimmer of just planning and being able to see, okay, if this adversity hits me, here's how I'm going to respond. And that's the same thing with battle. If you're an Army officer, or basketball, if you're a basketball coach, you got to be able to go into it hoping it's going to be best case scenario. You don't want to be a negative person and come in thinking, oh, this horrible stuff's going to happen. You got to have that. You're hoping, you're planning like it's going to be a disaster, but you're hoping still that it's going to be perfect. But it's usually, rarely, if ever, more likely never, you're gonna play out exactly like you think it will. Steve gave us a quote here. You can't teach what you don't know any more than you can't come back from a place you have never been. Lots and lots of hype and hot air out there. So you can't teach what you don't know any more than you can't come back from a place you've never been.
That's good.
That is good. That is quality.
I feel like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jared.
I was gonna say you do see a lot of influencers online and people talking about things, and that is one thing with that new. What's the new social media? It's
TikTok.
No, not TikTok. Clubhouse. Yeah. So Clubhouse. I get into these rooms and I'm like, I'll dive into these people and I'm like, all right, this dude's just talking, and there's no substance behind it. So, you can't teach what you don't know, but there's a lot of people that are trying.
And I swear you and I, Jared, are so alike because I swear to God, I was about to talk about Instagram. I was picking a different social media, but I was going to talk about social media as well. There's so many people who are trying to coach others, teach others, or the one that grinds my gears the most is portray to others a life that they don't actually live through social media. And that really, for example, somebody's going to go rent a Lamborghini and they're going to post it on their story and they're going to say, this is mine, I just bought it. Now everybody around them believes it or not believe it. I'm probably more skeptical than most, but there's a lot of people that are like, oh, this is awesome. You're portraying a life that is not your life,
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I guess that's just never something that I got around to. Unless you're trying to be an incredible marketer, right? And you're trying to promote your brand or something like that. Then there's a lot of value to that. I understand.
Yeah.
But if it's for personal gain and pleasure, it's not real. It's fake. I would rather drive my own Rolls Royce. You know what I mean? And I would rather, that's just the way I'm built, I guess.
Well, it's kind of challenging. I talked to this other individual who trains on talks to people on depression and mindset stuff. And you look at social media, it's a highlight reel, right? It is not the real, hey, I got problems. Here's an argument that I had. Here's the problems that are going on with my business. I mean, it's a highlight reel. And unfortunately, we're comparing our life, which has the highs and the lows, to their highlight reel, which is their best. And when you're comparing to their best, when you have both good and bad, it can lead to a recipe, to not happiness, depression, things like that, anxiety. And that's one of the challenging things you have to kind of keep, in the back of your mind when you're looking at stuff like that.
That reminds me of this one. Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparing yourself. And that's something that we do compare ourselves to. Maybe it's their highlight reel. You're comparing yourself to their highlight reel. And people are always going to have it bigger. There's always going to be somebody with a bigger house, a fancier car, a faster car, but you can't compare yourself to anybody else besides who you were yesterday. And if you're better than you were yesterday, you have to be happy. And we're three smart guys. We understand compound interest and compounding your results. So if you're 1% better, pretty soon you're going to be a lot better. But you can't just, I think comparing yourself to others is a great way to find yourself depressed, where comparing yourself to how you were yesterday and trying to just be better, a little better in all areas than you were yesterday, that's where you'll find satisfaction and contentment. But when you're looking at the Joneses or keeping up with the people down the street, there's always going to be somebody that has a faster, bigger, newer, nicer. So I think that comparing yourself to others is a great way to be disappointed.
For sure.
But I'm going to keep working until there's nobody with a bigger, faster, nicer. That's the only thing I know.
Right. Well,
and if I never accomplish that goal, at least I'm going to be farther than I would have been.
It's kind of like the saying, it's like train like you're in second place, but have the mindset, and the confidence that you're in first place. It's kind of a mind game, life, sports, and that's where you hear every top athlete is they say it's 80% psychology. It's more of a mental game than it is a physical game. You hear Michael Jordan say that as he got older, it's more mental than physical. It was like, once I learned the intricacies of how my brain works and how other people's minds work, I got better as time went on, and I didn't have to expend as much energy or time or effort to get the same output and quality. And that is, the driving factor for me as well, is like, I'm going to train like I'm, behind, but I'm walking in confidently, like I got this. There's that balance of humility and, grind. But yeah, you got to keep training like you're not in first place, because that's how you keep it. As soon as you start slacking, people are going to catch up to you.
I think that's the challenge between striving for more and being happy with what you have, right? Like, it's kind of a tough one, because it's like I always tell people, be happy with where you're at, but you also don't want to be happy with where you're at. Like, I mean, you want to keep striving, trying to get better and trying to get better, but you also don't want to be so caught up in trying to be better that you're not happy with where you're at.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I got from Tony Robbins, is he's like, to live a happy and fulfilled life, you have to continuously be growing and contributing. And I think if you are, you can be grateful and blessed, at this level. But if you're not growing over time, then you're going to get complacent. And that car that you were so happy with, 2 years later is just another car to you. So I love how you said is, be happy with where you're at, but don't be happy with where you're at.
You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. I'll say that one again because it's pretty heavy. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. Does that make sense?
Completely.
I love it.
Right? Like at first it's like you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. You can't change the people around you, but you can change who you hang out with. Everybody knows the one that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I always say this one, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? Who do you hang with? Who do you surround yourself with? If you're hanging out with a bunch of rotten apples and you say, well, I'm a good apple, but you're in a barrel full of rotten ones, pretty soon you're going to rot yourself. And I think that's why I'm always trying to strive to spend time with high achievers and people that do have high goals and expectations and aren't happy with just being average. Because average, it's as close to the bottom as it is the top. And
especially
average, mediocre, I run from mediocrity. I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to be average. I don't want to be lukewarm. I want to be on fire. I'd rather be, knowledge. There's something about on fire is better than ignorance on ice, or there's some quote out there like that. But showing up,
that.
Have you heard something like that?
Now I have, and I agree with it.
Ignorance on knowledge on fire. I'd rather be rich than stupid. That's a great quote that many people, nobody can really argue with that one, right?
Also agree with that.
Also agree with that.
I'd rather be rich than stupid.
Yeah, I would.
Well, yeah, I mean,
everybody would, right? That's why it's so.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know because I'd rather be rich than smart, right? That's where I was wondering.
No, I'd rather, if you're smart, I'd rather be happy than rich.
Yeah.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
You can do both.
Money doesn't buy happiness, but I've never seen somebody on a jet ski pissed off.
That's true.
Right?
At least yet.
People on jet ski.
I hate this.
Pissed off if you're on a jet ski.
Darn it.
My life sucks. That jet ski over there is faster than mine.
Goes to what we were talking about earlier, though. That's where I was going to go with it. You might be upset on a jet ski if you don't take the time to enjoy yourself and look at the big yacht next to you and say, oh, I wish I was on that. Maybe then you can be sad, but I haven't heard about anybody doing that yet. And any jet ski rides I've been on have been excellent. So,
yeah. Well, I think money just makes you more of who you are. If you're a good person, then having more money, you'll magnify the wealth and, giving back to others if that's who you are. But if they're broke and they're not willing to, give any money to any charities or give back, when they have a lot of money, they probably aren't going to be doing that either. Most of the time, that's just who they are. Right. And so the same thing, if you're a jerk, you have more money, you're just going to keep it to yourself. I think that having money is more of a tool, right? I look at being able to provide my family with trainers, with, a traveling team, all that stuff is money, a private school, clothes, better shoes, better equipment, all of those things, are tools that you can, with money, you can provide that with. Like my daughter's in track and she's doing track. She's doing amazing. And I hired a professional trainer at $70 an hour to train her. But she's getting better and I can see it. And that's something that it takes money to be able to do that. And not, if you don't have the money, you're probably not going to invest. And so you don't really know what you're capable of achieving because you don't have that person. I think of it like if I'm a tennis player and Andre Agassi, comes by and he's like, hey, you got to turn your wrist this way, and that's my coach. And I start doing it and it's bad at first, but then I figure it out. And then it's like, oh man, my slice is, nasty now. That coach just saved me, 10, 15 years of learning how to do this. And that time just compressed. And so that's why I invest a lot of money every year to coach myself to get better, mentally, to make sure that I'm in the right spot for our employees and our staff and our team. And I do that because it's taking all of the stuff that they've taken years to learn, and I'm compressing it into a 6-month coaching package. And they're helping me to, get that information quicker to be better, faster. So it's just an investment in, getting better. So money just allows you to do that much faster and better.
I like money because I rather have,
That's the quote of the day. That's the real quote right there.
I'd rather
like
have
money.
it.
I
Money,
like
money isn't everything,
too.
but I'd sure rather have it than not, right?
100%.
It gives you freedom. It gives you freedom at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think what you said there, though, about coaching, finding a mentor, finding a coach, finding somebody that's what I love about podcasts is you can pick up what took other people a whole lifetime to learn in 45 minutes or an hour, and they're sharing all this information. And I do think, I'd rather be rich than stupid.
Yes.
I like money. I'm not afraid to say I want money, but again, It's not the love of money that's bad, or it's not money that's bad. It's the love of money and not being a good steward of money. Like I'm a very benevolent guy. I don't have a lot of money, but I give money to places and causes where I think if I had more of it, I'd give more. So I'm not afraid to say that I want to, and I work hard. I don't have a lot of money, and I've never had a lot of money, so I don't know what it's like to have a lot of money, but I'd like to figure that out someday. I'd like to know what it feels like to just be able to see an injustice in the world and squash it because I have the resources to do it.
It's a great goal.
Let's just nod our heads on the agreement on that one for a second. Let's go. I
agree.
Hard to argue, right? I have a knack for pointing out the obvious. Well, that was awesome, Jared. I really appreciate you, man. Your friendship, your mentorship. Your podcast is killing it. You want to give a little shout out for your podcast or anything else, your socials? I'll put your website up on the ticker because I can remember it.
Yeah, so it's a podcast.
I love StreamYard, by the way.
Yeah,
love you can do this.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the website, jaredmace.com, you can find me on most social medias. Instagram, I'm probably most active on, and that's at Jared M. Mace. But yeah, for coaching, that's something that if you have a sales team, more than happy to give you a one free coaching session. If you are looking at investing in coaching and you have questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to be a resource. If it's not with me, I can help answer some questions and be a resource to you. That's pretty much it. The podcast is called the Destined to Achieve podcast. Very similarly, I love interviewing those that are achieving at high levels so I can extrapolate those nuggets and pass those off to help someone else to achieve success. So that's where you can find me.
I love the word Could you say that one word? Extrapolate?
Extrapolate. Yeah.
That's extrapolate. It's a great word. Jared Mace, founder, president, owner, jaredmace.com. The only difference on the / Jared / and your socials, there's an M in, correct?
Yep.
An extra M. Sweet, man. Well, that was great. I appreciate it again. It's been real.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's been real fun, and definitely appreciate you, man. And if you don't follow, make sure you go follow Mr. Mace on all of his socials. Check out his podcast. And yeah, anything you want to, any closing shots, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Yeah, I'd definitely just like to thank Jared again. You definitely brought a lot of value to this podcast, and I hope that our listeners, took one of the many, many nuggets, at least one, that you brought. So we really appreciate that. Thank you. And looking forward to staying connected with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna be watching you guys. So keep putting out the great content. Thanks again, guys.
For sure. Help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. Provide more value than the price. Sales advice. Provide more value than the price. That's genius sales advice. I'm a poet, don't you know it? I wrote
Oh,
words
still
just to
going.
say it. I can go so you know, like whoa, X. What
That's
I'm
it.
thinking of a few words that rhyme with X, and I don't know if I should be saying them. So
That's
we're
beautiful.
gonna wrap it out with that. Always a good time. Appreciate it again, Jared. And we're gonna say
awesome.
this is how we end our shows. That if you're gonna walk
on.
Walk on. That's how we say it. Walk on.
Let's go.
Walk on.
Let's go.
Here we go. Ending the broadcast for all you people on